Before we start this video, I wanted to mention that I've just finished several natal chart readings on my website, and more slots are available if you would like a personalized natal chart reading by me describing your personality and how you come across to others, as well as your talents and your life purpose based on your chart of birth, which displays all of those qualities. If you enjoy the video, you will likely enjoy those readings. So mention those, and if that interests you, feel free to send me an email, which I have written in the description, or check out the link to my website where you can book a reading right from there. These are hour-long pre-recorded natal chart readings. Furthermore, if you enjoyed this video, remember to like the video and subscribe to this channel. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. If you have Mars in Scorpio, this shows that you are somebody that acts on their desires, because Mars shows your approach to desire. It shows competition and it shows what motivates you. It's how we accomplish things. So Mars rules Scorpio, and when you have it in Scorpio, it is in a powerful position. It shows you have strong desires, and you're also somebody that is motivated by either your struggles and wanting to get out of a situation of struggle, or by this desire to achieve like something that you really want. And this placement has a lot of sex appeal as well, because Scorpio is about sexuality. Also, Scorpio is secretive, so Mars in Scorpio shows people that when acting, keep their intentions on the low. This is why they are natural great manifestors and high achievers, because they will never talk about their objectives unless they have something tangible to show. Because for one, they don't want to sabotage their objectives, but also they don't want to embarrass themselves, or they don't want to, be seen failing. Scorpio is very strategic, and also Mars in Scorpio will show somebody that has a great belief in their own goals, so they don't feel the need to want to talk about them until they actually have the results. So throughout life, if you think about all the times that you've started an endeavor, you've likely, kept quiet about it because you were just waiting for the moment that you can show people the results. That leads me to the next trait of Mars in Scorpio, which shows that it shows people that will get things accomplished by any means possible. Scorpio is quite obsessive, and it's a fixed sign. Fixed signs are about a constant state of being, and water, which is the element of Scorpio, is about emotion. So fixed water signs of Mars shows somebody that's constantly motivated. Secondly, Scorpio is about strategy, and so these people that have Mars in Scorpio are good at strategy, power dynamics, and psychology. Also, Scorpio is a malefic sign, and it shows struggle and lack in the chart. So when somebody has Mars in Scorpio, it actually shows somebody that becomes stronger in situations of competition, and they are quite competitive themselves, and struggle, lack, and desire best motivate them. Scorpio is about survival, and when in such states as struggle or lack, they are a relentless force, and you will see this Martian side come out of them. When factors are out of their control, which is what Scorpio represents, you will actually see the best performing side of them come out. So whenever you're under pressure, or whenever you are in a state of intense motivation, you perform the best. In the negative aspect, this placement can show people that want to accomplish things by force, or tend to control things by physical means. And in general, Mars and Scorpio people, whenever they're fixed on a goal, they are relentless, and temporary failure just makes them bounce back stronger. The next random trait of Mars and Scorpio is that Mars gives an attractive physique when it's in Scorpio, because Mars is about the physical body, and Scorpio is seductive and it's attractive. It's sexually appealing. These people will be good in bed, as Mars is quite sexual in this placement as well. Now let's talk about what Mars in Scorpio means through each of the houses. First house of Mars in Scorpio. This placement of Mars in the first house will make you competitive and have an attractive physique, for sure, because the first house is about the body. Mars gives a muscular physique when it's in the first house, as well as Scorpio, because Scorpio is a sign ruled by Mars. In general, having both of these signs and planet in the first house shows that you have very Martian qualities, particularly accomplishing things by force. Such people that have this placement will struggle with boundaries and when is going too far. But most of the time, they will not get called out for this trait because Scorpio is strategic and charming. It is the sign that borders Libra. To summarize this placement, it shows people that can have quite a forceful personality. If you have Mars in Libra in the second house, which represents resources, this placement shows that you strategically use your resources or influence to get things done or to come out on top. They may even use their relationships or connections to do this. And by they, I mean those that have Mars and Scorpio in the second house. Such people are very strategic and perhaps the most strategic out of all the Mars and Scorpio signs. They will at times buy the loyalty of others. And such men that have this placement will even pay for sexual favors. Next, let's talk about the third house, Mars in Scorpio placement. I take back what I said in the last section about Mars and Scorpio being the most strategic in the second house, because in some ways this is perhaps the most strategic Mars and Scorpio placement, is either this or the second house. But the way that these people are strategic is that they accomplish things through their mind. The third house rules the mind and it rules thought. And Mars in Scorpio is a relentless force. So these people have a relentless mind that really pierces towards an objective. They have a strategic and intellectual approach towards objectives. Mars in the third house is opportunistic as well. So these individuals at times will face the temptation to steal, lie, or deceive while getting things done, as they will inevitably notice loopholes in people's psychology or in systems, and they will be faced head to head with their own greed many times in life. Mars in Scorpio faces heightened greed, and Mercury is the planet that rules the third house, and Mercury is the god of thieves as well as trade and communication. So that is why they might face this temptation to steal at times in life, because there will be situations where it will be very easy for them. In general, these are very persuasive people. They are great at persuasion and asking for things, because Mars and Scorpio takes what it wants. Fourth house, Mars and Scorpio. Those that have Mars and Scorpio in the fourth house are intrinsically and intensely competitive. They need to feel physically in control in order to feel secure, because the fourth house shows security and emotions. And in general, as long as no one threatens the things that they care about or the people that they care about, they will not be a threat towards others either. The state of their home life and upbringing will be, for the most part, intensely competitive. And as children in their upbringing, there may have been involved the theme of physical force in order to accomplish things or to raise them. There will generally be a theme of anger and conflict within most of the people that have displacements, families, and within the family dynamic, because Mars rules anger, war, and aggression. And when it's in the fourth house, this becomes an aspect of the family or the upbringing, or at least some of the family members. Next, we have the fifth house placement of Mars in Scorpio. if you have this placement, what does this mean? Well, for one, and most importantly, these people have fiercely competitive egos because the fifth house is about ego, and Mars in Scorpio is relentless and intensely competitive. They will not be defeated or proven wrong, at least for long, because such scenarios only anger and motivate these people that have Mars in Scorpio in the fifth house. And they have this sense that they must bounce back to rectify their ego. Such people can have destructive egos because when Mars is in the fifth house and in Scorpio, it is in double fixed signs. The fifth house is a fixed house, and Scorpio is a fixed sign. And fixed signs are stubborn and they stay strong. Hence why Mars in Scorpio is very relentless, and why the fifth house represents the ego, and it is also quite competitive. This is probably the most competitive Mars placement when you have both of these combined. Mars in the fifth house likes to stand corrected and likes to feel good about themselves. To be humiliated, proven wrong, or challenged is perceived as a devastating blow to their egos and sense of selves. Mars in Scorpio in the sixth house. If you have Mars in Scorpio in the sixth house, what does this mean about you? Well, Mars in Scorpio in the sixth house are obsessively productive. On the other hand, since the sixth house rules small details and perfectionism, and it can rule worries and stuff like that, they can perceive small things as offenses. And those that have this placement in the sixth house are motivated to control all the small factors in their lives. It's important for them to maintain an active routine and to constantly be making progress, because Mars in Scorpio is relentless and the sixth house is about routine and work. They are quite competitive people and controlling people in the workspace. And they would generally fight to maintain familiarity and the way they like for things to be organized. They fiercely defend their routines and they fiercely defend factual information, because the sixth house rules information and it rules facts and statistics, because it's ruled by Mercury, the god of information and communication. So that is a quality of Mars in Scorpio in the sixth house, is that they are defensive of facts and of information. And within the workspace, they will make a few enemies in the process because they are critical and highly assertive people. The sixth house is about criticism and it's about being critical. If you have Mars in Scorpio in the seventh house, this is the part for you. Mars and Scorpio in the seventh house will try to accomplish things through others or through influencing them. They are persuasive and strategic about their interests. On the negative end, Mars in the seventh house can show a tendency to overreact towards perceived offenses, because the seventh house is about how we respond and relate towards others. And when Mars is in the seventh house, this is the planet of aggression, assertiveness, and anger. So there can be a tendency to overreact for that reason. They can be controlling in relationships, those that have Mars and Scorpio in the seventh house, and they may utilize power dynamics to accomplish things within relationships. In general, those that have Mars in Scorpio in the seventh house are focused on their influence and the power they have to make others do things, which usually they will have a lot of, because Scorpio is about power and Mars is at home in Scorpio. Next, we have the eighth house placement of Mars in Scorpio. These are forceful people, and the meanings of Mars in Scorpio may apply more strongly to them. And when in the eighth house, Mars in Scorpio shows people that may experience scenarios in life where they are forced to use this natural assertion and aggression and force to overcome sometimes life-threatening obstacles. The eighth house is about survival. So those that have Mars in Scorpio are true survivalists and conflict resolvers. This placement can show connections to military or towards warfare or physical conflict as well within the person's life. Those could be themes. But generally speaking, the themes of Mars become more direct and like become more immediately relatable, and so they actually have to like use their force to overcome challenges. If you have Mars in Scorpio in the ninth house, this is the part for you. So those that have this placement are adventurous and are risk takers, because the ninth house represents faith and acting out of inspiration, or sometimes without thought. Because the ninth house, if you think about it, is the house that opposes the third house. The third house is about thinking and it's about the mind. So those that have Mars and Scorpio in the ninth house do best when they do not think and when they take a risk or a chance on their desires in order to act or accomplish things. Scorpio represents desire, motivation, conflict, and the unknown. These individuals that have Mars and Scorpio in the ninth house are also quite combative about their opinions. The ninth house represents convictions and beliefs. And the ninth house represents wisdom. So these people will usually fight for their convictions. And since Mars is about action, they usually act through some sort of knowledge system or beliefs that they have. Knowledge is very important to them, and they use knowledge as an encouragement to act or to accomplish things. So like they will read about how to do something, or they will learn from a teacher or a guru, and then they will use that as the reference for how they approach a certain goal. Depending on the goal, they will get the information that helps with that goal. So anyways, these are wise people and they have an interest in knowledge. And Scorpio also represents the occult, so these people might use occult knowledge to accomplish their goals, or their wisdom of the occult helps them accomplish things. Now, also, when these people want something, they will usually take a risk to get it. That's what Mars and Scorpio means in the ninth house. If you have Mars and Scorpio in the 10th house, then what does this mean about you? Well, those that have this placement are ambitious, because Mars is exalted in the 10th house. And then in Scorpio, it represents being motivated and relentless. So generally speaking, these individuals will have high stamina and usually be quite disciplined. And they can, reach high heights in their careers. And they're usually motivated to leave behind a legacy or make an impact in some way and kind of like prove themselves to the world. And that's where a lot of this discipline or this ambition comes from. Is they might want to prove the disbelievers wrong about them. So next we have the 11th house. So those that have Mars and Scorpio in the 11th house, these are individuals that love change and progress, because Scorpio is about transformation and the 11th house is about change. So both of these meanings combine together within this Mars placement, and it makes somebody that is motivated towards change. And generally speaking, Mars and Scorpio is very capable and like very relentless and a force to be reckoned with. So having this placement shows that you are somebody that is capable of enacting massive change through assertive action. And you are passionate about progress, because the 11th house is about progress as well, and it's about the future. So these people will also be quite intelligent and have an interest in technology, or utilize technology in deep and complex ways in order to like accomplish a major feat. And so also the 11th house can be about streams of income, and it's about the internet. So these people are capable to make a lot of wealth, through the use of technology or the internet. And anyways, the next thing about this placement is it can show someone that will also have unique or unusual sexual taste, because the 11th house is about all that is non-conventional or unique. So that's a random trait about this placement. Finally, this leads us to the 12th house placement of Mars and Scorpio. In the 12th house, Mars is a big dreamer and likes to fantasize about what is possible. The placement of Scorpio shows that Mars becomes driven by their dreams when it's in the 12th house. And these individuals will generally be quite creative and spiritually oriented as well, because the 12th house is about spirituality and creativity. And Scorpio represents the occult. And so the 12th house represents the universe as well. So in general, this combination with Mars shows people that are master manifestors here, and they are spiritualists. But when it comes to their dreams, they can be procrastinators, and they can get lost into a lot of distractions, escapism, or addictions too, in the search for fulfillment, or in this in the indulgent side of Scorpio. And the 12th house can show escapism. So that is Mars and Scorpio through each of the houses. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to this channel to see your other placements when they come out. And that is all I have for you guys today. So I will talk to you sometime soon in another video. Peace.